You know what? I'm not supposed to be here right now. I'm going to invite most of the congregation to please be seated, but I'm going to invite the youngest ones. If you would all please come up, and I'm going to make my way to the steps, and I'm going to sit right over there. So if the younger ones would come on up. Sometimes you do things a little bit different and you forget that you're doing it that way. So if anyone wants to come up and sit with me for a couple minutes, I've got a few things I want to say. Good morning. Thank you all for coming up. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, and there's still more coming. There's still more. You coming up too, Remco? You gonna make it up? He'll come if Mama comes. We all feel that way sometimes. We all still want Mama to come up with us. Well, thank you all for coming up. I am very, very grateful that you came up here. And, you know, I'm glad that you all feel a little comfortable doing this, because we get you up here when, at the end of the service, when we all sing the blessing for the congregation and you help to send us out into the world. You do great with that. And I know some of you have been practicing to sing the song that you're going to do a little bit later, Joyful, Joyful. Some of you have been practicing that. And I know you've been up here for some of like the Christmas and the Easter times as well. So I'm glad that you're able and happy to be up here. I want to talk a little bit about what it means to love somebody and what it means to help somebody. So I want you to think for a moment. Who can complete this sentence? Love your neighbor as, who knows the next word? Emily? As yourself. Exactly. Love your neighbor as yourself. And that can mean a whole bunch of things. But there's one thing there's one way to think about it that I really, really appreciate. And it comes from, I learned it from a woman named Ruby Sales, who was part of the civil rights movement here in the United States. And she said that loving your neighbor as yourself means to think about every good thing that you might want. And if there's a good thing, and if there's something that you would want, and it helps you to feel good inside of yourself, and it might, and you know that it's something that can make you happy and can make you strong, then that's the kind of thing that you want to make sure everybody else has. And as much as you would try to get that for yourself, as much as you would try to tell somebody, please be nice to me, as much as you would tell somebody to be nice to yourself, if you see somebody else who's not being treated nicely, then it also means that you get to go up and you get to say, you need to stop doing that. You need to stop doing that to someone. You need to stop doing it to my friend or my classmate, whoever it is that maybe is being made to not feel good about themselves. But here's the thing, and this is what brings it back to the gospel lesson today, that had a story of a woman who kept going and saying, I need you to do something for me, and the judge would tell her no. And so she'd go back, I need you to do something, and he would tell her no. And she had to keep going back. Sometimes, if somebody is being unkind, we need to keep going back. But you should bring help with you. So who is somebody that you can think of that always helps you to feel good about yourself, and that you think could help another person to feel good as well? And who can somebody think of someone like that? Good. I'm glad you can. Who is it for you? Yeah, who is it for you?
My family.
Your family. Bring a family member, bring a parent. Yeah. Sometimes we have friends that will do that for us. Because if somebody keeps doing things that aren't very kind, sometimes it's a challenge to get them to change their mind. So eventually we have to bring help with us, right? And the people that already love you, the people that make you feel good about yourself already, those are great allies to have with you and great people to ask for help. So I want you to think about that and think about those things that help you love yourself and help you feel good about yourself. And then think about how you might be able to share that with another person and how you might be able to help somebody else feel good about themselves. And then think about the people that could help you do that for somebody. Okay? All right. So I'm going to ask you to head back to the people who brought you to church this morning. I've got a few things. Thank you all for coming up. I've got a few more things to say to the folks out there. You can listen to that if you want to, or if you'd rather do some coloring, you can do that. But whatever it is, I'm glad that you are in church today. All right? And in a little bit, I'm going to invite you to come up and help me with communion. So I'll make sure you know when to come up for that, okay? All right, so why don't you head back to the folks who brought you to church, and I'll see you back up here in just a little bit. A few other things to offer up about our scriptures this morning. After last week's brief interlude of Jesus healing the 10 lepers, today he is back on his storytelling game. And before we get into the parable, I ask you to consider for a moment what you think the name of that parable should be. The parable of the unjust judge, or the parable of the persistent widow? There's a reason that Jesus names widows so many times among those who must be shown particular care. 9 times in Luke's gospel alone, to say nothing of the other gospels. Their position was precarious, to say the least, and any time that they would be denied proper support or help or justice, that was a genuine threat to their life and to their livelihood. So it's no wonder that this widow comes so often, so frequently, that she wears the judge down. But the judge isn't really worn down. Another translation is that he is fearful of the woman doing him harm by constantly coming and putting him on the spot over the justice that he has been helping to deny her. It could be physical harm, but it just as easily could be social or career harm. It could be harm in public opinion. Her constant pressuring him for justice is putting his own well-being and power at risk, and his position grants him great power. And he begins to realize that could be taken away. But what about the widow? What about the woman who is coming before him? The Reverend Dr. Amy Richter cautions us about seeing this woman only through the judge's eyes, which means to only see her as perhaps unhinged or crazy, as annoying or bothersome. Maybe even seeing her as pushy or too emotional. Pushy and emotional. But all that she is doing is standing up for herself, standing up for and asking for what she is rightfully owed, and then demanding it when she is denied. Jesus names her as a seeker of justice. Grant me justice against my opponent are the words that he has her speak. He sees her standing up for herself. He sees her standing up for what is right. Capital R, right. The same kind of right from our own prayers and liturgies. It is meet and right so to do. It is right to give God thanks and praise. It is right and a good and joyful thing. Seeking justice for yourself, seeking justice for another, that is right and it is righteous. And right now, there is so much in this world and so much in this nation that is not right and is not righteous. Far too much that is an injustice. As the Episcopal Church, we are often known as ones who try to have things both ways, the via media, that middle way. It can be a challenge to nail down and to define. But there are some things that are easy to define. Some things that are clear that we are to do as members of not just the Episcopal Church, but as members of the Church of Christ that lives and breathes throughout the world, the church that is built on none other than Jesus Christ himself. Evil is real, and it lives in this world. And we must persevere in resisting with God's help. The example of God incarnate in this world, in Jesus, it is something that we must proclaim by both word and example with God's help. Christ lives and breathes in all persons and must be served in each person at least as much as we love ourselves with God's help. Every person has dignity and must be respected as we strive for justice and for peace with God's help. When aid is cut overnight, medicine that has saved countless lives is pulled, or civilians in boats are shot out of the water with no trial, that is evil in action, and it must be resisted. When somebody is detained under legally murky justifications, or an innocent victim is there as a mass arrest operation, and they are then hidden away from family and from those who would help them seek justice, then that has happened to the Christ that lives in all persons. When standards of compassion and empathy are named as sinful, then the teachings of Christ have been blasphemously distorted. And when our lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, and especially given recent months, when our transgender siblings in Christ are denied the full dignity of a loving life as the one that God created them to be, then faithful Christian voices must be raised in calls for justice. Just as the unjust judge must not become the main subject and the one who defines this parable, those who wield power for their own empowerment must not become the defining characters of this day and age. Rather, it must be the widow who wrestles judgment from one who is hard-hearted. It must be the ones who cry out for justice for today's widows and orphans, for today's aliens, poor, persecuted, and hungry. Those are the ones who must define this time. It is the ones who need that justice and the ones who seek to bring that justice to them. The question for us is, who will that be? In the name of the Christ, who lives and breathes in all. Amen.